What did you just say? Make me deceive him, lure him in, and then get money out of this man who looks like he's broke? I pointed at the dazed man before me, arguing fiercely with the system. I was almost speechless. James stood at the edge of the rooftop, wearing a thin white shirt. He swayed unsteadily. It looked like he might fall at any moment. Where was the proud and aloof demeanor of a corporate CEO now? The system remained silent. After a brief silence, it finally admitted with some awkwardness. Sorry about that, host. The worker just got started on the task and made a small mistake. Got your timeline wrong. According to the original plan, you were supposed to have arrived 2 years ago. It cleared its throat twice, trying to act calm. But it's not a problem. Even though the timeline was off, my role as the villainous remains unchanged. I still need to drain all his money and leave him behind without mercy. James only has 600 yuan left now. The system told me I had to get an Hermes bag from him within a week. It was overwhelmed and begging me for help. This is my first job, and I've messed up so badly. My boss will definitely be furious. Please help me, host. Just cover this up for me. After this is over, I'll make sure to repay you. I'll recommend you to higher-ups for double the points. Please, I'm begging you. If I had arrived 2 years earlier, I wouldn't have been so shocked by how tough this task is. In the original story, that was when the male leads company had just gone public and everything was going exceptionally well. As a rising star in technology, he was the center of attention across the business world. He could afford not just a single Hermes bag, but even luxury cars and villas with ease. Many established business figures were eager to marry their daughters to him. The goal was to form a strategic alliance through marriage, combining two powerful families. But few people knew that James's grandfather had once been involved in an accident in the countryside when he was young, saved by a young man from a rural village named Jack. The two quickly became close friends and brothers in spirit. They even made a promise that if they ever had children or grandchildren, the families could become connected through marriage, strengthening their bond even further. But later, when the Xie family was transferred back to the city, contact between the two families gradually faded away. The matter of their childhood arrangement was slowly forgotten by everyone. Then came me, a cunning and materialistic secondary character with ill intentions. She happened to hear about this story somewhere by chance. Then she traveled a great distance from afar, shamelessly pretending to be Grandpa Jack's own granddaughter, Hazel, lying constantly to take up space in James's life, deceiving him for food, comfort, money, and affection, forced him to date me and get engaged, then waited until he was falsely accused and lost everything, left without hesitation, taking all the money and abandoning him completely. Paid no attention even when he was struggling with deep despair. Never looked back once she left. The real Hazel is the true protagonist of the story. In the original version, after Grandpa Jack passed away, she discovered this childhood promise through his letter. Then she took a train and traveled from place to place without stopping. Finally, she found the young man's company. Right after that, she saw James was standing at the edge of the rooftop. He was unsteady, teetering on the brink as if about to fall. As the heroine of a redemption story, the real Hazel could never turn away without care. Just like how this wicked secondary character, would have done. She was kind, thoughtful, and caring. In the moment when the main male lead was at his lowest and most helpless, she reached out to James, who was contemplating ending his life. She stayed by his side and helped him heal. Together, they rebuilt their lives and rose again, and reached a happy ending in the end. But now, where is the main female lead? Where is the touching redemption? Why did it end up being me, this so-called villainous female side character? The system coughed twice. Sorry, host. There was a system glitch. So the main heroine's arrival has been delayed. She won't meet the male lead for another 2 years. So during this time, could you please follow the original storyline and gently mislead the male lead a little? I was so frustrated I could have yelled at the system. But before I could even speak up, James took a step outward from the edge of the rooftop right in front of me. His right hand gently brushed over the necklace his mother had left behind. He seemed unsteady, as if he might fall at any moment. He looked like he was about to fall at any moment. If the main character were to die, the entire storyline would collapse completely, with no way to recover. I was overwhelmed, ready to snap. I didn't have time to think. Right away, I poured everything I had into a sprint, pushing myself beyond anything I'd ever done before. I lunged forward and wrapped my arms tightly around James's waist. Then I pulled him away from the railing with all my strength. The guy, lost in his sorrow, didn't have a single chance to react. He stumbled backward, and we both ended up sitting on the ground together, staring blankly at me, the person who had suddenly appeared. A long silence followed. It seemed to slowly sink in what had just happened. He shook his head slightly, forcing a faint smile. "Thank you for saving me. I really don't want to keep living. Life is hard, and we're just passing strangers after all. After you leave, I'll still..." I cut in before he could finish. "Are you really planning to do it again?" If I were the real Hazel, I would have gently comforted him. I'd have lifted James's spirits when they sank so low. But I'm not. I can't steal the main heroine's story. Without thinking, I quickly flipped over and landed on top of the male lead, then slapped him hard. "You dare to give up? Do you even know who I am? I'm the one who's supposed to marry you. Get up right now. Your wedding payment hasn't even been settled. And you dare to quit like this?" James was clearly stunned. That's true. Someone suddenly appeared out of nowhere, claiming to be the one who was supposed to marry him. Who wouldn't be confused in that situation? Even though he'd been a CEO for many years, his temper remained surprisingly calm. He remained calm and composed. He didn't seem upset at all when I slapped him, just gave a quiet shake of his head. "You must have the wrong person." In response, I quickly turned and slapped his left cheek. "Impossible. How could I be mistaken? You're James. Your father is Daniel. Your grandfather Michael and my grandfather Jack were close friends since childhood, and we made a promise of marriage back in Ye family village." I took a breath and kept going. "Everyone in our village says the Xie family has done well. You now run a company in the big city, live in a villa, and are a top executive. You can't go against your conscience and deny this family connection. After all, I'm going to be the CEO's wife one day." James rubbed his reddened cheeks. He paused to think for a moment, then stood up. He looked at me, and suddenly it came back to him. "Hazel. Right. My grandfather did mention this matter. But the Xie family has fallen, and I'm not the same James the first used to be. I can't give you the life you want. Our engagement could be..." He was about to say it was over, but I couldn't let him say those words out loud. Who knew what might happen if the engagement was truly ended? What if, when I wasn't looking, he turned around and jumped off the rooftop? I leaned forward suddenly and grabbed his collar, with a fierce, threatening, and tense expression, carefully mimicking the actions of a villainous rival, shouting in a desperate, emotional voice. "What do you mean? Are you trying to leave me? You heartless traitor. Everyone in the village knows I'm coming to the city to marry into a wealthy family. If you break this agreement now, how will I ever face anyone again? I might as well just give up." At that moment, I even felt a bit carried away by my own performance. I pushed past James and hurried toward the edge of the rooftop, shouting as she ran. She hurried toward the edge of the rooftop. "I'll never be wanted by anyone again. This is too humiliating to even talk about. Come and take a look at this terrible person. I just don't want to go on living anymore. Don't try to stop me. No matter what." James had never seen anything like this before. He was briefly stunned for a moment. In an instant, his body reacted before his mind could catch up. He rushed forward without hesitation. He grabbed my waist, hauled me down tightly and firmly. His voice trembled. "Don't do something reckless. I'll marry you. Please don't harm yourself. You know, you're just too kind and gentle. Your biggest weakness. Even though you're ready to give up on life yourself, you still can't stand by and watch someone else suffer. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, secretly letting a smug smile form. Slowly, so slowly, I let him lift me down. I leaned against him with ease and closeness. She casually slipped her arm around James's as if they were old friends. Without giving it away, she guided him slowly toward the staircase near the rooftop exit. It's good that you understand. Just so you know, I'm the most popular girl in our village, plenty of people like me. Being with me won't be a bad deal for you. And my dowry isn't going to cost you much. 30,000 is all it takes. Just 30,000. That's all I'm asking for. James suddenly looked up. He frowned and stared straight at me. I already said I don't have the money right now. I waved my hand and cut him off mid-sentence. Can't pay now. Just owe it then. There's no way I'm letting it go. I leaned in close, pressing against his neck. I forced a soft, teasing tone, playing up the charm with bold confidence. Darling, you wouldn't want me to be laughed at for not having a dowry, would you? I'm feeling so emotionally fragile. If you don't treat me well, I might do something dangerous. James fell silent. To be more precise, after going through a series of difficult experiences including financial ruin and a severe mental crisis, he was utterly drained and had no energy left to argue with me. Once a top executive, he had lost everything after the company's liquidation. Even his cash was down to just 600 yuan in his pocket. With no home to return to, he had nowhere to stay. There was no choice but to follow me back to my place. He had no choice but to go back with me to my place, a rented apartment not far from here. It's just 3 bus stops away. Just half an hour ago, the system had efficiently arranged it for me. Even though James had lost everything, even in his white shirt and tall, graceful frame, he still seemed out of place in the narrow alleyway apartment that was only 40 square meters. He kept his emotions hidden, showing no expression at all. Instead, he held tightly onto the square box left by his mother. He whispered softly, "Thank you." His face was truly striking to look at. I couldn't help but stare a little longer. After a moment, I gently tugged at the edge of his tie. A small smile played on my lips. Why be so polite with me? You're already my future husband. After all, I'm not some kind-hearted heroine, staying by my side as a wicked secondary character. You're in for quite the ride ahead. James was feeling utterly hopeless. His parents had passed away years ago, and his relatives regarded him as a threat, keeping their distance at all costs. The company had already provided generous severance packages to its staff. There wasn't much left to take care of anymore. He had nothing left to hold on to. His once strong ambition for success and fame had worn away completely, shattered by betrayal from friends and business partners. In the small living room of his rental apartment, he sat alone, quietly curled up on an old, slightly worn sofa. The suit covering him was the first custom-made one his father had given him after his company's breakthrough success. Because of its deep personal meaning, he'd never been able to bring himself to sell it. He even wore this suit when he faced the end. Night had fallen completely. No matter how hard he tried to force himself, he still couldn't fall asleep. The moment he closed his eyes, the scene from the day his company collapsed flooded back. Stocks plummeted rapidly. Investors were calling in a panic. His subordinates anxious and uneasy expressions. Everything seemed frozen in that chaotic moment. His life had inevitably become linked with the label of failure. James sat up. He covered his face and sat like that until the first ray of sunlight slipped through the curtains. He thought to himself, he still had to end it all. Die while holding his mother's keepsake and wearing his father's clothes. A failure didn't deserve to keep living. He couldn't do anything about the Yi family's engagement. But Hazel was still young. Better she wasn't tied to someone like him for life. He could find a sheet of paper and write a farewell letter. Explain everything clearly. Say it wasn't that the Xie family looked down on the Yi family's daughter. It wasn't that the Xie family looked down on the Yi family's daughter. With his decision made, James closed his eyes, leaning sideways on the sofa as he took a deep breath. All right then. Let it be. He reached for a sheet of paper from the table and had just begun to write the first line. Suddenly, a sharp slap landed on his cheek. At the far end of my vision, the girl from the Yi family rushed over. She gave him a sharp slap. "What time do you think it is? Get up and apply for jobs already. Do you really want to live off me like this?" The first day spent with the guy wasn't exactly peaceful for me either. I usually sleep straight through until noon. Now I was tossing and turning in bed, wide awake by 6 o'clock or so. A faint sound came from the living room. It sounded like a quiet sigh, almost like soft weeping. I quietly slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the door, leaning against the frame of my bedroom doorway. Peeking outside, James was sitting on the sofa, his face covered in his hands, as if lost in memories of something from the past. After a long moment, he suddenly sat up straight. He picked up a pen from the table and started writing something down. The system was still active, voicing its thoughts right beside me. "Hey, what's this guy doing up so late? Is he seriously working on some kind of revenge plan? No way. Absolutely not. If he still had that drive for the future or ambition, he wouldn't be thinking about ending it all." An idea suddenly popped into my head. Could it be a farewell letter? In an instant, I burst through the door and rushed over. I gave James a sharp slap across the face. "Look at the time right now, don't you see what hour it is? You still haven't gotten up to send out your job applications? Do you really plan to live off me without doing anything?" He was usually calm and kind-hearted, but even the most patient person couldn't stay quiet and unbothered after being struck several times without reason. He suddenly stood up, crumpling the letter he'd been about to write into a tight ball. He tossed it into the nearby trash can. "What are you doing? Enough already." He stared at me with a heated glare, his eyes sharp and flashing with frustration. Seeing him this upset actually made me feel relieved. I wasn't afraid when he lost his temper. It was the quiet emptiness I worried about. When someone has nothing to do and loses their energy, it's easy for them to get lost in their thoughts, staying curled up in one place. Especially someone like James, who has no ties or responsibilities, sad thoughts can easily take root. I cleared my throat twice. I reached out and pulled his arm, tugging him down to sit beside me, my voice rising slightly with a hint of pout. "What's with the attitude? Can't I give you a light tap? You should really think about that, don't you? A little respect goes a long way," I said. "One more time. Even though we haven't officially registered our marriage yet, you're already considered someone with a family now. As a man, and someone who'll soon be a husband and father, you should start taking responsibility seriously. Are you really planning to rely on me for everything your whole life? You can't even come up with the dowry money. Then are you saying you can't afford dinner either?" James looked flustered, his face turning red and pale in quick succession. Even the system seemed impressed, saying, "You brought up family matters like that. How can he possibly go through with it now? That's just how a villainous character acts." I pulled the laptop out from the cabinet. I turned it on and connected to the Wi-Fi. "I'm not asking for much from you. Look at your education and work experience. Jobs paying several $1,000s a month are practically within reach. Hurry up and send me your resume. I'll submit it to job websites for you." This time, James didn't resist. He calmly accepted my WeChat friend request. Then he sent over a resume. This was likely the one he made several years ago, during the early days of his startup journey. I only glanced at it for a moment, and the impressive details almost took my breath away. Top high school, top university graduation, mentored by an academician, with research papers published in leading journals. Most importantly, the few startup projects he joined each secured substantial funding and delivered impressive returns. That's seriously impressive. There's no job he couldn't land. I instantly sent out mass applications to over 100 company emails through various job hunting platforms. James seemed to notice the look on my face. He gave a faint, self-deprecating smile. Those were just things from the past. Right now, I doubt any respectable company would even consider hiring me. I doubt any respectable company would give me a chance these days. Don't say that. Cut in. You're not allowed to talk about yourself like that. Not a single company would even consider hiring James. I might as well just give up and go with the flow now. Just as if to prove the words I'd just spoken. The next moment, my phone started buzzing intensely. Several companies began sending me private messages through the platform's back-end one after another. Hello. Are you looking for a job? Is your resume genuine? Are you really James? If possible, we'd like to schedule an interview with you. Not only was the HR person polite, but the companies were all well-known names I'd heard of before. I got so excited that I immediately downloaded all the job postings from those companies. I zipped them all up and sent them over to James. Then I happily grabbed his arm. Hey, future husband. Look. I always said there were so many things to admire about you. I think their salaries are pretty good. Don't you? You should go apply for jobs. Get a job. And start earning money. Then give all the money to me. I saw a new handbag in a magazine recently. It's the latest style. And it's absolutely gorgeous. James finally gave in to my constant nagging and stood up with a hint of weariness. He rubbed his nose bridge and let out a quiet sigh. Got it. I'll go check out some job interviews right now. But don't get your hopes up. I cut in before he could finish. Looking up at James. Do you want me to go with you? He turned me down. No need. Even though the male lead said I didn't need to go with him. And his mother's belongings were still left in the rental apartment. But as someone chosen by the system to work hard, I had to stay close. Just in case he suddenly thought of doing something dangerous when I wasn't looking. I still decided to quietly follow behind him. Just in case anything unexpected happened. Fortunately, nothing unusual occurred during the entire trip. James's mood stayed fairly steady throughout. He unlocked a shared bicycle and rode for about 10 to 15 minutes. Eventually, he stopped outside a nearby office building. I stepped out of the taxi. I pulled out my phone and took a quick look. This was one of the companies that had responded to my message on the job search app. It wasn't the largest in size, nor did it have a particularly strong reputation. Was the main character choosing this first interview to boost his chances and lift his spirits during his job hunt? In sight, James had already entered the company building. I didn't have anything else to do. So I bought a milk tea and sat down on the flower bed, sipping on the pearls. I logged into my game, passing the time in a rather bored way. I had already prepared to wait for him for an hour. Just as the time felt about right, I was planning to quietly hide and follow him to the next interview spot. But then, unexpectedly, it hadn't even been 20 minutes. I had just lost a ranked match when suddenly, a system alert screamed in my ears. Host! Host! You need to look at this quickly. The main character seems to have been kicked out. Seriously. Not again. I quickly stood up and darted behind a nearby tree. It was just an interview. Did he clash with the boss over values? Or was there some deeper mismatch? How could he actually be asked to leave like that? It really was that way. James was practically escorted out by the security guards inside. He looked quite disheveled, stumbling a few steps before managing to steady himself. A few security guards behind me were muttering angrily, but from my distance, I couldn't make out what they were saying. The system seemed surprised too. What's going on? Host, do you want to go check it out? I think the main character seems a bit unsettled right now. James kept his head lowered. His expression was hard to make out, and he still held a printed resume in his hand. Should I go over to him? I shook my head. James had always had an easy path in life, truly a standout among his peers. The challenges and hardships he's faced these past few days are completely unlike anything he's ever gone through before. If I were to show up now, it would force him to reveal the most difficult and painful part of his life, something that would likely be deeply hurtful to him. I pulled out my phone. After a moment, I decided to send him a voice message. Honey, how did the interview go? Let me know if there's any update. I'll be waiting at home. At the far end of my line of sight, James pulled out his phone too. He glanced at his phone and quickly replied to me. Got it. Also, I've been meaning to say, we're not at the point where we call each other husband and wife yet. James paused for a moment. He straightened his clothes for a moment, then walked toward another building nearby. That was one of the companies he'd messaged back through the job app, just like the ones I'd sent messages to. They were both located in the same tech park nearby, so there was no need for a taxi or extra effort. This time, I didn't wait outside anymore. I was just too curious about what was happening inside. So I quietly followed along and had the system issue me a temporary visitor access pass. Then I slipped secretly to the outside of the interview reception room. Sitting on a small stool in the hallway, I leaned forward and focused intently, listening closely. I was lucky this time. It seemed no one else had been invited for the interview, and there were no extra staff members stationed outside the room. I was sitting on the little stool in the hallway, completely focused and listening closely. Luckily, this interview seemed to be just for me. There wasn't another candidate around, and no staff members were posted outside the room either. I had a clear view through the door crack without hiding. Moments later, voices started coming from inside. "James, I didn't think you'd actually show up. Don't you remember your old close friend? He emailed every company, warning them that if you ever applied for a job, we shouldn't offer any help. I'm sorry. If HR had let me know you were coming, I wouldn't have made you go through this trouble." He paused for a moment. The man who seemed to be the company's boss added another comment. "He probably already reached out to others. There's no point in checking other places. Some might even take this chance to humiliate you." I froze in place for a moment. What? Who was this friend of James they were talking about? Good thing James didn't come out right away. He kept talking with the people inside for a while. And as I listened from outside, things gradually started to make sense. It turned out James's financial collapse wasn't as simple as it seemed. He had been betrayed from within the company. James had always trusted that person like a brother. His parents passed away one after another. It was the other person who encouraged him to overcome his struggles and take a chance at starting a business. As a result, James eventually built a successful career. When the other person asked him for internal company information, James had no suspicion at all. Then, without hesitation, the other person handed it over to his competitor. They joined forces and drove him into financial ruin. He casually said to him, "Sorry, but when it comes to money and profit, what's a friendship worth? James, don't blame me. I've treated you well as a brother before. I really have." I thought to myself, I finally understand why James was so determined to end it all. It seems he truly lost all hope and attachment to the world. If it were only about the company going under, maybe it wouldn't have been so bad. For an entrepreneur, there's always a chance to fight back and start over again. But what if there was something else on top of that? His parents had passed away, his family disowned him, and his closest friend betrayed him. Everything came crashing down like a sandcastle washed away by a sudden wave. Everyone left him behind. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't hold on to his family, friends, or career. Even in the face of all this, could he still keep going? Before James came out, I quietly slipped away. After using my visitor pass to swipe through the building's exit, I originally planned to head home. I thought about it for a moment. Then I changed my mind. A new dessert shop had just opened outside, offering discounts to attract customers. For just 50 yuan, you could get a decent-looking 6-inch chocolate cake. I bought one inside and stepped out when James happened to come out of the building at that moment. This time, no guards were shouting at him, and he looked much calmer than before. He adjusted his clothes briefly. His expression remained calm and neutral. He lifted his head, and our eyes happened to meet. I was holding the small box in one hand, bouncing lightly as I ran toward him, calling out at the same time. I reached my hands out toward him. Honey, what a coincidence. I came out to grab lunch, and guess who I ran into? I said it with a cheerful tone. I didn't pay any mind to the fact that just 2 hours earlier, James had clearly stated in a text message that we weren't ready for such affectionate terms yet. I quickly slipped my arm around his. That must be true connection, right? Did you just finish an interview? How did it go? It was clear to me. James's body seemed to tense up for a brief moment. He stayed silent for a few seconds, saying nothing. It was as if he was holding back, trying to keep himself under control. Then, unable to contain himself any longer, he suddenly broke out in a burst of emotion. His voice rose as he turned to look at me, his eyes slightly red around the edges. The results are in. Failure, failure. All failures. No company would even consider hiring someone like me. Doesn't anyone in the world want me at all? I'm really that useless. I've always said that this engagement should be called off. You're wasting your time on someone like me. Your future would only suffer because of it. He quietly pulled his arm away and took 2 steps back, as if trying to put some distance between us. His head lowered slightly, turning his face to the side. It looked like he was bracing himself, as if afraid I might strike him again. I suppose it makes sense. After all, that's the image I've been playing, cold-hearted and demanding, with no regard for others' feelings or reason. We'd only just met 2 days ago. I'd already given him several sharp rebukes, one after another, like a string of quick snaps. He closed his eyes, steeled himself for the worst. But he didn't expect it. This time, what landed on his cheek wasn't a slap. Instead, it was a soft sigh. I pulled him into a tight embrace. Standing on tiptoe, I gently ran my hand over James's hair. Who says no one wants you? You still have me, don't you? I'll be right here with you, forever and ever. After the main female character arrives, I'll eventually have to leave James. I wanted to. His mental state had sunk to such a low point now. I was just being kind, telling a small lie. It shouldn't hurt anything. Should it? James seemed stunned by what I did. He stayed still for a long moment. He slowly straightened up, staring at me without blinking. One word at a time. You're not going to leave me, are you? He paused for a moment. But Hazel, look closely. I'm not just no longer the company president. I can't even find a job. I'm not as impressive as you might think anymore. Maybe. You'd still have to take care of me. I let out a yawn. I gave the small cake I just bought a little shake. Got it, got it. If we can't find it now, let's just leave it for later. I already told you. The dowry money can wait. We don't have to rush getting married. I took his hand. Let's go home and eat some little cakes. I took a bite, and it was incredibly delicious. Whenever we have something happy to celebrate, we'll treat ourselves to one. Okay. In a moment, James slowly squeezed my hand back. He gave a soft nod. Okay. James indeed didn't look for a job for a while. After the interview didn't go well, he started staying at his rental apartment most of the time. Of that didn't mean he was doing nothing at all. He took care of tasks like tidying the room and cooking meals. But most of the time, he'd often be alone on the couch, scrolling through his phone. He was busy with something on his phone, though no one knew what exactly. A day or 2 passed. Then another couple of days went by. I wasn't worried yet. The system, on the other hand, was getting anxious. He started pressing me. Host, you don't think the main character's actually becoming useless, do you? How can you still stay so calm? Mission, host. If he really ended up being a lifelong failure, how would we ever make money from him? That wouldn't be staying true to our original purpose. Now would it? I was finally fed up with the system's constant noise. I scratched my ear and cleared my throat twice. Because, although I could push him forward step by step, in the end, whether to give up or keep going, that's always his own choice. It's like a student preparing for an exam. Parents and teachers can encourage you once, twice, or even 3 times. But the motivation of a top student always comes from within himself. And James, I believe in him. I believe he can figure it out on his own. 5 days later, James was finally going out. I was playing games in the bedroom at that time. Out of the corner of my eye, I happened to see him standing at the doorway, his eyelashes lifting slightly as he looked over at me. This time, he was wearing the suit his father had left behind, looking neat and put together. He was holding a stack of documents. The edges were slightly curled, as if he'd gone through them many times before. He softly called my name. Hazel. I nodded slightly, not looking up until I finished the current game round. Then I lifted my head, pretending to be surprised by his appearance today, my expression widening in mock shock as I called out, "Honey, what happened? Why are you dressed like that? Are you planning to leave home?" James pressed his lips together briefly. He shook his head gently at first. Then he fell silent for a moment, as if making up his mind, and took a deep breath. "I thought about this, Hazel. You're right, I can't keep going like this anymore. I still have you, and I won't drag you down for the rest of my life, or become someone who needs constant care from you." He glanced at the papers in front of him, speaking slowly. "I'll try to start over with a new business. I'll make new plans, seek funding, and rebuild step by step. Hazel, you believe in me. I won't let you down." I put down my phone and got off the bed. I stood on tiptoes and hugged him. "All right. I believe you." James didn't let me down. He also stayed true to himself. In just 2 years, he truly made a comeback and returned to the heart of the business world. He became someone people were talking about once again. Maybe there was a bit of luck from being the main character involved, too. But more importantly, it was all about James himself. I've never met someone so full of energy and never giving up before. He only slept 4 or 5 hours each day. He went to see investor after investor, and kept pushing for funding and projects one by one. He had plenty of rivals. Of course, some investors were moved by his sincerity and were willing to give him a chance. He worked with a modest amount of funding, bit by bit. He gradually regained ownership of his former company building. James, having risen from hardship, became less reserved and heavy-hearted. Our relationship seemed to grow even closer. He became really attached to me. He'd always come back at noon and in the evenings, taking care of cooking and cleaning without being asked. That habit of never letting anyone help him with chores, no one knows where he picked it up from. First, when the company was just getting off the ground, there were lots of expenses, and most of the funds went straight into growth. Later, the business gradually settled into a steady rhythm and became stable. James finally became wealthy. He returned to living the life of a company president. I didn't even have to remind him. He'd proactively send over the latest luxury handbags and jewelry for me to choose from. He also bought 2 high-end cars and a villa, all registered under my name. I'm the one who keeps track of the bank card. His income is directly deposited into this account, and he only sets aside a few thousand yuan each month for his personal expenses. After 2 years, we've saved close to 30 million. Then, on what seemed like an ordinary day, he got off work and took my hand, walking with me for a stroll. Suddenly, he pulled out a red velvet ring box from his pocket. He looked straight at me. Every word came out clearly and with deep sincerity. "Dear, all the money in my bank account is yours. As a dowry, do you think we could get married now?" James seemed to have gotten quite used to calling me his wife now. 30 million. 3 million is 100 times what I mentioned back then when I talked about the 30,000 dowry. But can I really say yes to this? My mind suddenly went blank, as if my head had exploded. What should I do? Things like dowry, handbags, luxury brands. I did keep telling him about them all the time. But now we're already this far. What excuse could I possibly use to back out now? I can't just come out and say it was all a lie before. So let's call off the wedding. In an instant, a voice suddenly echoed in my ears, the system's alert. "Host, prepare yourself. The main female character is returning. Hazel. The real Hazel." What? I hadn't come up with a good excuse, so my hand had already started to reach out. But then I froze in place when I heard those words. Slowly, I pulled my hand back. The real Hazel. I have to admit, James has been so kind to me. He always calls me sweetheart, and Hazel. For a while, I almost forgot who the main character was. I even started believing I was truly a granddaughter of the Yi family. Looking back now, it's time to return him to the right person now. The system cleared its throat twice, sounding a little regretful. I'm sorry, host. Sorry to bring this up at such a moment. The main female character is actually a person from this world. Because of a system error, the real Hazel only found out about the childhood arrangement between the Yi family and Xie family a week ago. She bought her train ticket yesterday and has just arrived in this city, heading toward the Xie group building now. Paused for a moment. The system then turned to me. As for you, host, your mission has been fully completed. As agreed, all your points will be returned to your account. Sighed. You can leave anytime you wish. I lifted my eyes, looking at James standing across from me. For over a minute, the two of them remained silent, and he still had the ring tightly clutched in his hand. As time passed, his expression gradually grew more tense and uneasy. His lips pressed together slightly. It looked like he forced a smile, as if it took some effort. He seemed to have noticed something was off with me. Taking a deep breath, he spoke softly. Hazel, what's wrong? Is it not the right style for you? Should I go get another one? I tried hard to hold back the sadness of saying goodbye. I looked at him, hard and long. I kept him firmly in my mind, every detail etched deep. Then I walked forward and gave him one final hug. No need. I really like it. Do you remember the little cake I brought home when you first started looking for a job? Wait here for me. I'll go get another one, and we can celebrate together tonight. My part in the story ends here. As for how the main characters move forward, it no longer has anything to do with me. I don't need to know about it anymore. The system truly kept its promise, doubling my original task points and converting them into cash, which was then added to my account. Plus, all the things James had given me before. Cash handbags, and a car. I was now truly considered a wealthy woman. Since this wealth could only be used in this world, I decided to stay here. I asked the system to help me set up a new identity document, using my original name, Stella. That same evening, I boarded a flight. I left that city behind, headed south. As a wealthy woman, I quickly settled into a life that others envied. Morning tea, shopping, getting manicures, attending fashion show openings. Then every day, staring at the endless sums in my bank account, I'd feel a quiet emptiness and boredom. 2 years after leaving James, I had grown tired of my extravagant and monotonous lifestyle. Suddenly, an idea popped into my mind. I made a decision that went against everything I'd been taught. I decided to use those funds to start my own business. The moment the idea popped into my head, I was having afternoon tea with my friends. Their spoons clattered onto the table, one after another. They stared at me with their mouths wide open. Their jaws were nearly dropping. Oh my goodness! Are you out of your mind? We wealthy second-generation folks just need to enjoy the benefits without stirring up trouble. There's no reason to take unnecessary risks. Exactly. Don't you know about Wang family's eldest son? Top university, valedictorian every year. He was praised by my dad since he was a kid. So impressive, but after graduation, he started his own business and lost over 100 million in just 2 years. Even if you bought dozens of young assistants, you couldn't possibly waste that much money. Well, I guess the logic makes sense. But honestly, I guess, during the years I was with James, I might have truly gotten spoiled by him. Not only did everything come to me without effort, but I never had to think about meals either. Whenever I was feeling tense or upset, he'd even lean in close with a gentle, hopeful look and ask, Hazel, are you not happy? How about you hit me? You used to enjoy this kind of thing, didn't you? I have to admit, I truly miss those times. Even after I left James, I once tried to hire 1 or 2 university students, offering them a large sum of money just so they'd be there whenever I was upset, just to take my anger out on them. But they just looked at me with defiant eyes. Even though you paid for me, I still have my dignity. You can be with me if you want, but you can't humiliate me like this. Oh my goodness. It feels like I'm the one getting the short end of the stick when it comes to you all. Later I realized, There's a type of person in this world who has the least sense of dignity. That's the working class. As long as you give them 3,000, they'll not only work hours, but also act superior and speak harshly. So I made up my mind. I decided to just become a boss myself. To everyone's surprise, I ended up doing quite well as a boss, far from losing money. I was actually making a profit. In the pastry shop, my close friends' jaws dropped once again. This time, they even brought along the graduate we'd mentioned before, all asking me to start teaching class. You're literally our dream girl role model and inspiration. My dad says I should only hang out with top students like you. Only then can I become a better person. Please teach me. I'm begging you. If the company keeps losing money, my parents are gonna kick me out of the family tree. A round of flattery. It made me feel overly pleased with myself. Actually, it wasn't as complicated as it seemed. I was just applying the same approach I used on James before, keeping constant pressure on hardworking people stuck in long work hours. For example, young people should learn to handle challenges. Everyone has been through tough times, right? Everyone else is doing their part. Why can't you? Take a good look at yourself and think about it. If you don't put in the effort, how are you going to grow professionally and get rewarded? Although the approach was harsh and intense, it was effective. But our company offers salaries 7 to 8 times higher than industry standards, with excellent benefits and annual international trips. So even if you have to deal with a boss like me, there are still plenty of top professionals eager to join us. There's even a rumor going around that my company is a talent training ground for the workplace. Anyone who's worked under me ends up feeling confident facing any difficult or demanding boss in the future. I picked up my coffee. I glanced at my eager friends and took a slow sip of my coffee. Come on. No need to be so polite with me. We're having a contract discussion tonight with another company. Feel free to come by and watch if you'd like. The deal should be mostly settled by now, just a formality of signing the papers. There shouldn't be any issues. That's why I felt comfortable bringing them along to show off. My friends immediately burst into cheers and excitement. Chattering loudly, we all piled into the car and headed toward the company building. I led the group in a big, lively procession like this. I was walking toward the meeting room, phone in hand, calling my subordinate in charge of the matter. I thought everything had been settled. But then, unexpectedly, before I could say a word, my subordinate's voice trembled. Boss, just now we got a notice. Someone from the backer side isn't satisfied with several details and is coming in person. What? I haven't had any involvement with this company. It's a tech company that was founded in the northern region just a few years ago and recently acquired by a mysterious investor with significant influence. The top executive is extremely mysterious and rarely shows up in public. There are rumors floating around. It's said that the executive experienced a sudden life-changing event 2 years ago. He had planned to get married, but was unexpectedly left at the moment of proposing. After that, he became distant and strict, making it hard for anyone to get close to him. I gripped my phone tightly, frowning deeply. The project amount for this contract wasn't significant. It was only a few million. Was it really necessary to bring in someone like this top expert? The manager's voice continued coming through the phone. They're saying the split isn't acceptable, need to renegotiate. Plus the plan, design, and timeline. Long-term expenses and profits. The more I listened, the more frustrated I became. Before long, I had marched quickly to the meeting room door. Then I shoved the door open with a forceful push. I started shouting angrily. Seriously, is there no end to this? The deal I offered you was already the best possible. Aren't you satisfied yet? We had everything agreed upon early on, and now you're changing it. Do you think I'm easy to push around? Even if I'm the party responsible for delivery, I can't keep letting this kind of treatment slide. Do it if you want to, otherwise, we're done. I knew this wasn't my team's fault, so I was just frustrated with the other side. I don't care who's in charge or what they think. They're not above being held accountable. I've always made sure partners had good room for profit, and I never micromanage. So companies are usually eager to work with me. This one's not a fit for me. There are plenty more out there. I stared at the other person with a fierce expression. Clenching my fists, I was just about to slam them down on the table. Suddenly, someone reached out from behind and gently took hold of my hand. He moved beside me, slowly easing my fingers open one by one. His face leaned in close. His voice brushed against my ear, softly coming to life. "Don't hit the table, your hand will hurt. Hit me instead. Just like before. Would that make you feel better?" I turned my face slowly, stiff and frozen. It was unexpected. It was James. A voice called out, "Boss." It was unexpected. He was the investor. It's been 2 years already. James was wearing a suit, and he didn't seem much different from before. He looked quite put together. His hand was still tightly holding mine. His gaze was intense. It felt like he was carrying a deep, overwhelming emotion, almost as if something inside him had taken over. "Finally. I've been looking for you so long. Hazel." Everyone's eyes turned toward us. Not just the members of the neighboring collaboration team, also the group of friends I had brought along. They all leaned in, exchanging curious glances and whispering among themselves. "What's going on? Who is this guy? He must be some kind of investor. Have any of you heard of him? Could it really be James? The one from Gaston Surpris. My dad mentioned him before, and even showed me his interview magazine. He said he managed to rebuild himself after losing everything, while I just keep squandering my family's fortune. Maybe I'd be better off scavenging for trash instead." The murmurs and comments were overwhelming. James was still holding my hand, calling out Hazel over and over again. It made me feel increasingly unsettled. I slapped him hard. "Stop calling me that. I'm not Hazel. You know I'm not. I'm not real. I'm not real. I'm not real. You have a real fiancé, so please don't come looking for me anymore. Okay. All those 2 years were just a game to you. Yeah. It was all fake. All fake, all fake. But who could possibly know? There was a moment, just for an instant. I even wished I could truly be Hazel, someone who could stay by his side without hiding. But I'm just someone summoned by the system to complete missions, a greedy and shallow antagonist. Nothing more. So, James, what did you need me for? You already have your fated love. Please don't look at me like that anymore. Don't bring back those memories from 2 years ago. Otherwise, I might start believing even someone like me, who only ever wanted money, might have actually fallen for you in a way that felt real." I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath, then pulled my hand away firmly. She turned and ran down the stairs. "This time, James, please don't follow me. I'm in trouble." By the time I actually made it downstairs, I realized I'd come here with my best friend's car. My car was parked somewhere else. There was no time to call a driver on short notice. But just a few minutes later, a Rolls-Royce pulled up. It stopped right beside me. The window slowly rolled down, revealing James's worried expression. He opened the car door and quickly grabbed my arm. His voice trembled, and he spoke in a confused rush. But then he called out the name I had from my old life. "Stella. You've been gone for so long, and I never stopped searching. I know you're not Hazel anymore, and that you've taken on a new identity now. So what if it is? Those 2 years we spent together weren't pretend, were they? Why? Do you really have to leave like this?" His eyes were red, as if he was holding back tears. I looked away without saying a word. He paused for a moment. A sudden pang of sympathy welled up inside her. "What about the real Hazel? James. She's the one who was actually promised to you." "The real Hazel?" James froze for a brief moment. He seemed puzzled, wondering why I would bring up someone like that. After a pause, he appeared to finally understand. He quickly pulled me into the car. "Hazel, is it? All right. We're going to see her." The car drove straight to the train station. He didn't let go of my hand for a second as we bought a ticket to a nearby coastal city. The train was leaving in half an hour, and it would take 2 or 3 hours to get there. As evening approached, James and I were standing again in a different city. It felt really strange. I was still having trouble processing everything. James had already picked up his phone and called his assistant. Have you reached Hazel? Send me her address. And please let her and her husband know we'll be visiting them soon. Husband? Hazel is married? Yet, when I sat in Hazel's bright and spacious living room with James, I was completely stunned. Her husband stood tall, wearing a white shirt, and seemed very gentle by nature. He was arranging for the maid to prepare dinner while also making tea for us. I blinked a few times. I couldn't hold back and called Hazel out to the garden. I rubbed my nose, feeling a bit shy as I spoke. I'm sorry, Hazel. I took over your identity for 2 years. If it hadn't been for me, maybe you would have had a different outcome. Could it be that the story's ending wouldn't have changed so much if not for me? Hazel rubbed her nose lightly. She reacted just like James did. It seemed we'd all been caught off guard. After a moment, she shook her head and smiled. It's all good. Actually, I owe it to you that I met my current husband. She saw my confused look and immediately took my hand. She began to recall what happened in the past. Do you know, when I first found James, he was really hard to get along with. He kept insisting I was a fraud. Back then, he was searching for you while also focused on growing his company and planning steps to deal with those who had wronged him, always rushing from one thing to the next. I wasn't interested in him at all. I just came here because I knew of only one family in this big city, the Xie family, so I figured I'd try to get close to them for support. But seeing how he always looked so tense and miserable, I thought it was better to keep my distance, so I just told him the engagement didn't count anymore. I never expected that as soon as I said those words, I ran into my current husband right after stepping outside. He was waiting at the entrance of Xie Group's office building with flowers in hand, claiming he was a business partner of James's. From the moment he saw me, he just knew he wanted to get to know me. Hazel gently rubbed my cheeks. She gave me a soft hug. Her gentle voice reached my ears. So don't feel guilty about using my identity. If I somehow ended up with James due to that silly family arrangement from generations ago, we wouldn't have been happy. The people who should be together for life are those who truly love and care for each other. Hazel, I'm already with the person meant for me. What about you? What about you? Hazel had just finished speaking. James suddenly ran out from the room. Maybe it was because we'd been talking outside for so long that he looked a little worried and flustered when he came running out of the room. He seemed to relax a bit once he spotted my figure. Then he marched over and gently but firmly pulled me away from Hazel's side. She looked startled, frowning slightly at the sudden move. What's going on? Just how long has it been? Worried I'd take her away. James's face turned slightly red, but the hand holding my waist didn't let go. He pulled at his lips, ignored Hazel, and handed me the phone. Here. It's been ringing non-stop. Probably someone trying to reach you. I glanced at him. I took the phone. There were indeed dozens of messages on the screen, all from my mischievous friend group chat. Because James showed up unexpectedly, and I suddenly disappeared without explanation. They've all gone into overdrive now. What's going on? Is Hazel actually involved with him? My curiosity is killing me. Someone please fill me in. It's already this late. How come neither of them has messaged anything? I doubt we'll hear anything from them tonight. Hazel probably couldn't resist the charm and is already with him. They must have gotten back together, right? What on earth is going on? I felt my face flush red, then pale, then red again. Furious, I shoved the phone into James's arms. Then I remembered it was actually my phone and snatched it back right away. James was much taller than me. He leaned down and caught sight of what was on the screen. He rubbed his nose lightly. Hazel, can we get back together? Please. Hazel's husband also came out of the villa. He put his arm around Hazel's shoulders, and the two of them turned to look at me and James with a gentle smile. I felt a little embarrassed. I gave him a quick pinch on the waist and muttered under my breath. What's with all this talk about round things? Let's discuss it later at home. He didn't say anything more. It was just getting too late to take the train back home. Hazel had offered to let James and me stay overnight, but I felt it would be too much trouble for her. So I booked a hotel room nearby instead. James walked me to the hotel room and stood at the door. He seemed to be carrying something on his mind. After a pause, he brought up the topic from this afternoon again. Hazel, I meant what I said about wanting to start over. It's serious. I knew he'd traveled all this way just to find me, and I couldn't keep avoiding this conversation forever. So I took a deep breath and gave it my full attention. I leaned against the door frame. I looked at him. But what about the practical issues? James, your company is in the north, and I'm doing well down south. I'm not even thinking about moving to another city anymore. He quickly cut me off, shaking his head firmly. No, Hazel, you never have to change for me. I'll be the one adapting to you. I've already started moving my business operations this way. In no time, probably within a year, I'll be based in your city full-time. I paused for a moment, taken aback. From what I know, except for James's grandfather who had lived elsewhere during a rural assignment, the Xie family seems to have stayed in their hometown all along. I bit my lip. Suddenly I remembered something. Why are you being so picky about this contract? We've already made major concessions everywhere you look. There's some complaint. James instantly became flustered, his ears turning slightly red. Before I could finish speaking, he quickly interrupted me. No, Hazel. I just wanted a chance to see you. The representative on your side said you wouldn't show up, so I came up with this plan just to see you. Please forgive me. Let's forget about the project. Everything Xie Group earns can be yours. That statement brought back memories from 2 years ago. Back then, James trusted me with all his income, leaving it entirely in my hands to manage however I saw fit. His expression now was still as sincere as it had been before. His gaze was fixed on me, steady and sincere. He reached his hand out from his pocket and placed it in front of me. Resting in the palm of his hand was a red velvet box. The ring I couldn't give you last time. Hazel, would you still accept it? That afternoon sunlight seemed to have traveled through 2 years of time, shining on me once again. I gently closed my fingers around the box. I was no longer pretending to be Hazel for a mission. This time, let's give the real me and James a chance. Let's give it a try.